Hi, friends. So, I have had an incredible turn of events. I believe always in staying curious, always in remaining open to the fact that we may not even know who we are, that we may think we are something, and what lies beneath that may be something entirely different. In my path of self-discovery and self-learning, I have gone down paths in an attempt to discover who I really am, what my identity really is. And in recent months, I have had experiences that have opened my mind to concepts of what this programming has caused, what it is that we are, what our identity is. I have channeled information from my highest self. I have had plant medicine experiences that have all pieced together this incredible tapestry, incredible puzzle of what it is that makes a person who they are, what it is that makes a person gravitate to an identity or to who they think they really are, and the fact that we defend who we think we are because there's safety in that. So that being said, I recently had an experience that showed me what gender is. I gained an incredible understanding of what gender identity is and where it comes from and why. It was revealed to me through various experiences that built upon each other that even down to our gender identity and our sexual orientation is all a product of every experience we have ever had leading up to the current moment. So every experience we have ever had from the time we were born and the perspective we had based on what our current experience level was at that time, based on every experience we had, every memory we had, every data point that went along with every memory and every experience that we had over the course of our lives, all formed together this delicate tapestry of who we are. From the time we're born, depending on what body we're born into, we are treated by our parents a certain way, we're raised a certain way, and for the most part, most people who are born into a body that biologically is what it is, they are treated the way they are that matches that biology, and therefore they're fine with it. They just attach to this meaning of what that means to be that gender because they were in that body. But for a select few of us, like myself, the particular sequence of events that occurred to us as we were growing up as children, the parents we had, the way they parented us, the things that we received, the things that we perceived, and our particular perspective given our past history and experience in life, and every data point along with every experience that we ever had comes together to form a meaning in our mind of what it means to be a certain gender. For me, I happen to have a mother who was always degrading men. She talked about men like they were just scum, the worst people on the planet. She constantly degraded my father, constantly said that he was a terrible person, and we didn't even have boy animals when I was growing up. Male animals were talked about as if they were disgusting. Penises were talked about as if they were a disgusting body part. I grew up in this environment. Can you see where I'm going with this? Through a particular sequence of events and the perspective I had as I had those events occur to me and all of the data points that go along with each of those experiences, over time and very early on, I developed this perception that it was not okay to be a man, that it was something that I should not be, that being a woman was superior. Although this was complicated by my being raised in the Mormon church. In the Mormon church, men are very much spoken of as being superior to women. Only the men have priesthood authority and can perform ordinances and things in the church. So this caused a huge confusion in my whole reality. My perspectives at the time, given the experiences I had as I grew up, and all of the data points that were received as I was raised the way I was, caused me to develop this idea that being a female was the best thing, the best way to live to my fullest, highest potential. These recent events and recent experiences that have exposed me to understanding and knowledge of who we are and why we are who we think we are, and the fact that we defend that so strongly to the point that we may even have surgery to confirm who we think we are. Every sequence of events that I experienced over my childhood led me to the point where I actually had surgery to confirm who I thought I was, who I thought I needed to be, even though it defied biology and defied everything I saw around me. And if anybody were to question me on that, I defended very much my position. And this is an interesting thing because I can still understand that other trans people, because they are where they're at in life, because every sequence of events and data point from every memory, every emotion, every experience they ever had puts them in a position where they genuinely feel like that is what is right for them, and therefore they should be just loved and accepted for who they are. And that brings me to another point, that all of those of you who have lovingly accepted me for how I was presenting myself and what I felt was my true identity, for the fact that I thought I had arrived at what my true self was, to live as a woman and to even have surgery to confirm that belief, I have now come what I call full circle to where I now see the bigger picture. I see what all went into place, what fell into place to cause this to become my reality. To where now I am able to make this video and tell you all that I have come full circle in this knowledge and understanding of what developed my perspective of reality to make me arrive at this place, that I would even have surgery to confirm it, and I would take from my wife a certain intimacy that we were able to have, because my mind in that place and time, given everything that had ever happened to me, every experience I had ever had, formed together this perfect tapestry from which to draw upon and from which to make this decision. And therefore I can look back on the decision that I made and the fact that I've lived this way for as long as I have, and be fully comforted in knowing that that was just where I was. That was the decision I made based on all of the data points and all of the information and all of my experiences leading up to that point, and my perspective of reality based on all of that. And so I am here to tell you all that I am very grateful for those who just accepted and loved me for where I was, even though some of you have probably been waiting or hoping that I would come to this realization on my own. Some people will be like, well, what's with this wish-washy? How can we trust anything? People don't like change. Change freaks people out. It takes a long time for people to accept change and to accept that something is different than what they thought it was. There's a sense of safety that comes in knowing that something remains the same, that you can return to a place and it always stays the same. We find safety in that, and we find safety when people around us remain the same. I can guarantee you it caused a lot of unsafety in me when I realized this. The fact is, I realized this months ago, I came to this realization of what gender identity actually is and what caused it, what forms a person's gender identity. And it kind of shattered my world. But then the problem was, here I had been living as a woman this whole time and going around people that accepted me this way and would gender me as female, and I loved it. It felt affirming, but there was always that internal question of, but is this really the reality? So when I had this realization that gender identity and sexual orientation is strictly programming, it's every experience we ever had, given the perspective we have at the time based on every experience we ever had, that causes us to form an attachment to a meaning behind it. A meaning that being attracted to one person means something. I have been studying an internal family systems therapy modality, and doing so has allowed me to understand better the human psyche, the human condition, who we are, why we think we are who we think we are. And so when I realized this, all of a sudden, you can imagine, it kind of shattered my world. My world kind of fell apart inside, because then I'm left with the question, okay, well, if my whole gender identity was based on my past and my childhood traumas and my programming growing up, and the fact that my mother was always so negative about men and even male animals and things, that this programmed my perspective of reality. And if that's the case, and here I am having already had surgery to confirm what this identity was, and learning that the whole identity was based on every experience I ever had over my life, I realized if my gender identity was indeed entirely programming, which it was, and I realized that, then what now? Where do I stand now? Having had surgery, having lived around the people around me who accepted me for who I am and gendered me the way I desired, and all of this during this experience, I had to come full circle with this within myself too, to find peace and comfort in this whole reality, that it is okay. That yes, there will be those who judge, there will be those who are uncomfortable with change again, even though it means changing back. And what that means, where's the safety in that? There's no safety in a person that changes. People don't like change. But the fact is, I am still who I am. In fact, I can be more authentically myself with this change. It's a wild thing. It's a wild realization to understand that I can embrace the masculine and feminine sides of myself. See, I grew up with this reality that I could not express the feminine sides of myself because I was a boy, and that was not okay. But now I understand, coming full circle, that it is okay. It is absolutely okay to express the feminine sides of yourself even when you are a man. It is okay to express the masculine sides of yourself if you were born biologically female. Biology was simply a product of this physical earth that needed to be in order for life to continue. Our spirits, our life force energy, they are not male or female. We are non-gendered life force energy that inhabits a body based on a certain sequence of events that happens in the mother's womb that causes it to form either male or female. Based on what a baby becomes, based on a certain sequence of genetic events, that baby is then raised in accordance with how the world views that gender. If a baby is born a boy and the world is telling the parents that the boy should be raised a certain way, that boy is then raised according to what the parents feel is going to be best and normal. The reality is that every baby should just be raised as a human, as a loving human, given the strengths that they have. They should just be loved and told that they are worthy of love and to express whatever parts of them want to be expressed, regardless of what their biology shows. Regardless of what your biology is, you are worthy of expressing every part of yourself, masculine or feminine. I did not think that was okay. I grew up with a certain sequence of events that programmed me in my reality to believe that it was not okay to express the feminine sides of myself unless I was feminine, unless I was a female fully. And it's a wild awakening for me to have come full circle in this way, to have lived since 2017 as female. I grew up with a lot of self-hatred, a lot of reason to hate myself, a lot of reason to believe that I was not worthy of love and acceptance unless I proved myself to be lovable and worthy. And part of that involved my identity, my gender identity, that I had to take on this particular gender in order to be able to express the identity that I felt needed to be expressed. And this whole sequence of events came about to a place where even I thought I was someone that I wasn't, or that it meant something. We attach meaning to an outcome. We attach meaning to what something means, meaning behind who we are and what we are and why. This attachment to meaning causes us to become rigid and fixated in a binary in one way or another, to think that we have to be something and then that we have to defend our being that something. It's crazy. So anyway, I feel like I'm going through a rebirth of sorts, a realignment of what it means to be a human, what identity is, now that I understand that identity is fully engulfed in every experience we've ever had, every memory, every data point and emotion tied to every memory. I have come to recognize that I have a mission on this earth, a mission to share this information, a mission to disseminate the understanding that this allows me to have. Not only about gender identity, that's only what I had to go through in my life in order to fully gain this understanding in a way that I could convey to people, in a way that they will understand what programs them to be themselves. Even if you don't struggle with gender identity, you do assign yourself and hold rigidly to an identity that was built over your past. Every experience you ever had programmed you to believe that you are who you think you are. It is key, it is vital to always stay curious to what makes you think you are who you think you are. And again, I am very grateful to all of those of you who accepted me for who I am. Who I present myself to be now is going to change a little bit, because now that I have come full circle and realize what makes a person present themselves the way they do in the world and believe that they are who they think they are, and what caused me to believe who I think I was, I can now be perfectly comfortable and safe in knowing that I can now present myself in accordance with my biology, and that's fine. And I can also express the feminine sides of myself, and that's fine. It was only my programming that made me believe that I had to accept, or that I could not express myself in certain ways because it wasn't okay, because I was a boy. I was born a boy, and therefore it was not okay to express those feminine sides. Of course it's okay. We're humans. We are human beings. Our body does not dictate our identity. It is the world that wants to force us to accept or assign ourselves to one identity based on the biology, based on the world's perspective of what that biology means. From the time you're born, you're raised based on what the world thinks that biology means, and people have this expectation of you to maintain this identity based on that. You don't have to. And that's what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that my personal wild roller coaster of events that caused me to gain the perspectives I did, that caused such drastic things as having surgery to confirm who I thought I was, has now come full circle. I now see the bigger picture, and life is going to be better from now on. Life is always better when you are able to fully accept the grand scheme of things, to see the full tapestry for what it is, every experience for what it is and how it formed our perspectives of reality. I greatly appreciate all of those of you who loved and accepted me for who I was, who I present myself as, what I thought I was, what I thought I needed in order to be my full self. I know I can now just be my full expressive self while still appreciating the biology I was born into, and that's okay. I came to the realization that pronouns, an expectation of other people to alter their perspective of reality, is not exactly the right thing either. The fact is, this world is highly based in a biological binary. If a person is born male, the majority of people just want to call you he, him. That's just how it is. If you were born female, the majority of the population wants to, by default, refer to you as she, her. That's just how it is. And I wanted to fight that. Anytime someone called me he, him, it hurt a part of me inside. But one of the reasons it hurt that part of me inside is because I was already questioning what it meant, questioning that attachment to a meaning. And so, during my experience yesterday, I came up with the pronouns of WMYFC. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. You should refer to me with pronouns that make you feel comfortable. If it makes you uncomfortable and causes you to defy everything you ever thought you knew, that someone who is born male is called he, him, if that's what makes you comfortable, call me that. I mostly am going to start presenting as male now, because I have come full circle in accepting that, in finding comfort in that, finding the balance that it's okay, that even though I had surgery to confirm otherwise and now don't have the body parts that confirm that, the fact is my body was male. It was born male. I grew up being treated as male. That's who I was until I defied my own biology based on a series of particular memories and events that programmed my perspective of otherwise. So, whatever makes you feel comfortable, that's my pronouns. WMYFC. And that's how it should be for everybody. Nobody should expect anybody to defy their programming. Their programming and perspective is what it is. Your perspective is what it is based on a very particular sequence of events that you went through and what you got from that particular experience. Your unique experience programmed your unique perspectives of reality and formed opinions in your mind and attachments to meanings and ideas. And therefore, I am comfortable with whatever makes you comfortable, but I am going to now start using the pronouns he, him again, because that's what the majority of the world just expects. That's what makes me feel more comfortable, because now having this realization, having this full circle awareness, and therefore, like I said, I appreciate those of you who welcomed me and appreciated me for who I was desiring to be and desiring for people to refer to me as and accept me as, and that's wonderful. You're wonderful humans for doing so. And I understand it may be a hard transition more for other people than for myself at this point. It was a very hard thing for me to come about too. It, like I said, shattered my world to realize this about myself. But now I had to get all of my parts on board, every part of me that was ever built over my past, to realize this is in the best of everybody's interest. This is what's best and will allow me to live more fully to who I actually am, and to more fully be able to fulfill my purpose on this earth, to help others as a guide to embodied wisdom. That's what I am. I am here to guide people to embody their own wisdom. I have been shown this incredible tapestry of what forms a person to be who they are, so that I could help people overcome their own traumas, their own past, their own limiting beliefs, their own attachment to ideas. I love you all. Thank you for joining me in this incredible journey, this roller coaster of events.